To order the THPRD Board of Directors meeting for January 14th, 2026. Jessica, would you please call roll?
Barbie Minor.
Here.
Tia Ping.
Here.
Alfredo Moreno.
Here.
Pradnya Patel.
Here.
Miles Palacios.
Okay, our action item number 4, action resulting from executive session. I will entertain a motion from executive session. Do I have one?
Yeah.
Yep.
I move that the Board of Directors authorize staff to acquire property in the southwest quadrant of the district for the price discussed in executive session using this system development charge funds subject to the standard due diligence review and approval by the general manager or a designee.
I'll second.
Okay, Jessica, we have a moved and seconded.
Pradnya Patel. Barbie Minor.
Yes.
Tia Ping.
Yeah.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes. Okay, welcome. Good to see you all. This is your time. I'm going to read some things and just give the general overview of our audience time. And then Holly will have a little extra guidance since we have a lot of passionate people here today, and we're grateful to see you. Public comment is an essential part of government meetings, and we're grateful for all of you who are participating. It's a valuable opportunity for us to listen to community perspectives on district issues. We thank everyone in attendance for doing your part to maintain a spirit of mutual respect and courtesy as speakers and listeners in this space. Speakers will have 3 minutes each and will be called in the order in which they signed up, with priority given to those addressing items on tonight's meeting agenda. It's not a time for dialogue. We're here to listen, and we will ask our general manager, Doug Menke, to follow up as needed. To ensure that we're able to complete our scheduled business for the evening, we're going to limit audience time to 30 minutes. Public testimony may always be shared in writing as well. Via email is great. And district staff will ensure that the full board receives a copy of any testimony submitted. And we've already received some, so thank you for sending that in. Holly, would you like to give a little extra feedback? Yep. Thank you, Holly. I will do my best. If I mispronounce your name, my humble apologies. I will actually try my best. We're going to start with, it looks like Jenna Fells, and on deck would be Sarah Nicholas.
Mic already on?
Yeah, you can, your mic should have a green button there. Those lights in front of you will let you know when your 3 minutes starts and is at the end, and we'll call it like 7:07, 7:08-ish for when to wrap it all up. So you're
hear me okay?
ready to go. Yep.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I forgot. Can you please state your name and your zip code for the record? Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Jenna Sells. I am at 97229. I grew up at 97225. My siblings and I were athletes in the school district, and Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec played a huge part in that. I want to thank you guys for participating on your board. It's very time consuming and you guys have a lot of things. So I really appreciate you being here. I have a swimmer on the Beaverton High School swim team. She's a junior. And then I have a 5th grader as well. And it's come to my attention that our relationship within Beaverton School District and THPRD is, it doesn't sound as inclusive as it used to be. I'm the parent Beaverton High School community liaison, and I work with a lot of the underserved children. Our swim team hours being from 7:30 to 9 make it really hard for students to get there, especially we have a lot of single family home, so transportation, or even if they have a car. So we're really looking at finding better hours that work for everybody. It sounds like maybe there's just one hand's not talking to the other right now. Maybe we're serving a couple different objectives, but I know student athlete participation is huge, and it funnels into THPRD, and a lot of these people serve the community later. Our coach, our swim coach, did just that. So I really want to find a way that we can get more kids involved in the activities, participating at times that work for them, and maintaining a cost that works for the students as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Sarah, just your full name and your zip code for the record. Thanks.
My name's Sarah Nicholas, 97225.
Thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of the Tualatin Hills Dive Club and the athletes and families we serve. This issue is not simply about scheduling. It's about governance, reliance, and public responsibility. The Tualatin Hills Aquatic Center emailed draft schedules for the spring and summer 2026 season on September 3rd, and the finalized schedules on October 3rd. The exact words in the email were, THPRD has received feedback from all affiliates regarding requested lane allotment for spring and summer 26. Please find attached final allotment for spring and summer 2026. At this time, we are requesting that all affiliates review their allotment and provide feedback on the following. Are there any times your club was allotted that you no longer need or would like to return? And is there any additional allotted space that your club would like to request? Based on these commitments, the club made staffing, financial, and enrollment decisions. 1 month later, on November 4th, we were informed the finalized commitments would be reduced by 40% mid-season beginning April 1st. For a tax-funded district, this is a material service reduction, not just a routine adjustment. This is the only diving facility of its kind in Oregon, Southern Washington, and Eastern Idaho, with the only full platform tower in the region. THPRD therefore holds exclusive control over the access to a sport of diving for an entire region. When a public agency has monopoly control over access to youth and lifelong sport, it carries a heightened obligation to act transparently, equitably, and in good faith. The consequences of this decision are predictable and severe. Youth divers lose consistent and safe access to training. Masters, working adults, and seniors lose rare opportunities for lifelong participation, and a newly hired full-time coach's position is destabilized. A nonprofit club operating on thin margins loses essential revenue and viability. Once a program like this collapses, it does not return easily. The long-term loss to the community will far outweigh any short-term scheduling benefit. Members of our club have already raised these concerns during public comment last spring and this November. At this point, the board has been well informed. Continuing forward without corrective action is no longer an oversight. It is a governance decision. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for fair, consistent treatment and for THAC to honor finalized commitments. We respectfully request that the diving hours be maintained through the end of the season while a formal review is conducted, and that the board provides a formal written explanation of the basis of this decision and how it aligns with THPRD's public mission, equity commitments, and responsibility as the region's sole diving facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next two folks to take the seat, Sebastian Nicholas and Lauren Bartleson. Okay, Mr. Nicholas, if you could just give your full name and your zip code, and then the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Sebastian Nicholas, zip code 97225. I am a board member of the Tualatin Hills Dive Club. I came before this board in November to raise serious concerns about the unethical and unprofessional treatment our organization has received from the Tualatin Hills Aquatic Center. Despite bringing these issues forward, no action was taken, and we have now been told that 40% of our pool hours will be removed beginning March 1st. This decision contradicts what we were told earlier in the year, in September, and again in October. We were assured that our water allocations would remain unchanged. Yet, in a one-on-one meeting in early November, we were abruptly informed without warning or justification that our hours would be taken away. By then, we had already made season-long commitments to our athletes and families. At minimum, this conduct is unprofessional and unethical. To make matters worse, the hours taken away from us are being reassigned to a new affiliate swim team under a lane maximization policy that was never communicated to us. This policy clearly benefits swim clubs and undermines program diversity. We pay the same lane fees as every other affiliate, yet we are the only organization losing time. We have also been told that the Aquatic Center intends to charge the diving club for use of the Dryland Center, an area built largely through the funds raised by our club in 1991. This is unreasonable and disregards our history and contributions. Additionally, we learned the Aquatic Center has approached other inadequately qualified individuals to run summer diving programming we had already agreed to provide. This undermines both our partnership and the quality of instruction offered to the community. Given these repeated actions, we must ask, why has this board not intervened? Why are we being subjected to decisions that lack transparency, fairness, and respect for an organization that has served this community since 1971? We urge the board to halt the reduction of our pool hours and suspend any effort to impose new Dryland Center fees. If our pool time is reduced, we will rely more heavily on the Dryland Center, making new charges even more punitive. Our club is a vital pathway for young athletes, many of whom advance to collegiate and Olympic levels. We deserve to be treated with fairness and integrity. If our concerns continue to go unaddressed, we will have no choice but to seek legal representation. We are not the only affiliate raising concerns. The pattern is clear. This board must recognize that something is fundamentally wrong at the Aquatic Center and take immediate action. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Lauren, name and zip code, please.
My name is Lauren Bartleson and my zip code is 97007. And I'm here to speak with you about the Tualatin Hills Dive Club's reduced hours at the Tualatin Hills Aquatic Center. Excuse me. 15 months ago, I couldn't jump off a curb if I wanted to, thanks to a deep-seated fear of heights and falling. I tried rock climbing and other land tactics to no avail, but it wasn't until I decided to jump into water, my safe space, that everything changed. At my first practice, I could barely walk out to the end of the 1 meter board without shaking. It took everything in me to jump off. At the end of that practice, I set what felt like an incredibly ambitious goal, to jump off the 3 meter board. Within a month, thanks to the coach's support and encouragement, that happened. Then I set my sights on doing a front flip, which happened 9 months later. Then the real challenge, jumping off the 5 meter platform. Again, that happened. Last week, after 15 months of consistent practice, I jumped off this 7.5 meter board, nearly 25 feet, for the first time. I honestly never expected to be able to walk up that high, much less actually jump. It's because of THDC that I was able to face my fears in a safe and supported way. I'm one of 2 consistent master's divers and the only one that takes lessons with the 6 to 14-year-olds. These kids are both fearless and fearful. On Monday, I watched a young girl who is typically the first to jump off 5 meters say not today and walk back down. She's learning to listen to herself and her instincts in ways that no other sport allows. Diving isn't just about the act of hitting the water. It's about learning to trust yourself, overcome fears, and try new things in ways you wouldn't otherwise. Reducing hours at the Tualatin Hills Aquatic Center significantly impedes this progress. As someone who joined THDC for this specific location at this convenient after-work practice time, this change is incredibly disappointing and disheartening. I encourage you to consider how this small change impacts divers of all levels. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. Okay, up next, we'll have Christy Rapowski and Kristen Strength.
Best friends now.
Okay.
It's fun if I can know each other. Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Rapowski, when you are ready, you can state your full name and zip code for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Christy Ripkowski, 97008. Well, good evening. Well, here it is, a new year, and we meet again. I hope you all enjoyed your holiday season. To review, my name is Christy Ripkowski, and I'm appealing to this board to continue its stewardship of the Elsie Stir Center by voting to not sell the center's green spaces to the city of Beaverton. Instead of depriving us of the ability to enjoy and interact with nature, instead of depriving us of the ability to increase very much needed class and parking spaces now, much less to be able to accommodate the continuing growth of the 55 and better voting resident population. This city plan to build residential units will only provide housing for about a couple dozen people. This will be a couple of dozen people who will have to find their own parking, will have to cart their groceries and other supplies, will have to wait for EMTs to park and walk in with their life-saving equipment. And heaven only knows how they will dispose of their garbage. And while they are dealing with these challenges, the school children will have to play in the church parking lot, and countless 6+ decades aged seniors will have to find other resources to help them keep their bodies healthier while making and maintaining positive social relationships. But not the city. It will have its little project and millions of our tax dollars. Whoops. Is that too political? Sorry. I don't want to come across as the cantankerous old white-haired lady. In fact, my main goal tonight is to affirm that I am not just one voice. If I had the time, I could probably bring thousands of like-minded 55 and older supporters to your attention. Tonight, I just bring you the 31 signatures of the class I attended this morning. Like so many Elsie Stir members, they fully support this effort, but driving at night in the cold, in the fog, oh my God, tonight, is just not practical. We are your parents, your grandparents, your aunties and uncles, your retired teachers and librarians and your grocers and mechanics and retired nurses and accountants and builders and plumbers and salespersons and. We need you to do the right thing for our generations of people. We would appreciate you doing it soon. I personally would like to make some travel plans rather than gear up for the extended protest campaign. I leave that up to your imaginations, what that could look like on nightly news. Maybe with dragons instead of frogs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Name and zip code, thanks.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Strength and my zip code is 97229.
Thank you.
And I would like to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak tonight and for the Tualatin Hills board members for your service to the community that I and my family have benefited immensely from, and we are very grateful for. I enjoy many things as an affiliate through the master's swim program, and I used to be a very high-level swimmer myself. But tonight I've come to speak about the current practice times that our high school swimmers throughout the Beaverton School District are really forced to endure. And as a parent of 3 girls, it's unacceptable. The Sunset Pool at practice time is currently 8:45 to 10 p.m. at night. I speak as a physician in the community. I'm a mom, I'm a swimmer, I'm a community member, and I'm a taxpayer. And this is not in the best interest of our children. I respect all the affiliates and I want everybody to get the pool time that they so desperately need. But this is, again, our publicly funded school system, and I do not understand why they are getting last pick. Practice time this late effectively removes the swim program as an option for Sunset High School students. And when they are sharing the property with Tualatin Hills, who actually is getting the time before and after school? Because I really don't think you can find any more deserving people than the high school swim team. I was able to find the intergovernmental agreement between Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec, and under IP number 2, it says that the Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec will provide field maintenance of the Beaverton School District's facilities, essentially in exchange for primary access to THPRD, for THPRD. So, but there's a really important second part to that sentence, and it says, when not in use by BSD-sponsored activities. So I'm really not clear how that's in contract compliance. So our school children cannot possibly be expected to function the next day if their practice ends after 10 o'clock at night. How are working families supposed to bring their kids and let alone pick them up at that late hour? Are we expecting them to walk home after a 10 p.m. swim practice? And then my second concern is regarding the time of the swim meets. There is vast data that shows that students must attend school and significant data showing the importance of attendance in school and how that impacts their learning. How can you possibly ask kids to miss hours of school every week for a school-sponsored swim meet? So in summary, I really appreciate how THPRD is here to serve the community. The public high school that shares the land should be given access to these facilities at reasonable times, and I'm asking for your consideration in that.
Thank you. Thank you both. Next up will be Chris Gerber and Mike Clausen.
All right, haven't been in front of a microphone like this in a long time, so I will do my best not to yell.
Okay, just a reminder to state your name and your zip code for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Chris Gerber, 97008. I am a swim coach for the Beaverton School District, a former Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec employee, and a current aquatics manager. I am here to speak on behalf of my team about how overwhelmingly unreasonable the last 10 years of dealing with Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec in terms of equitability for the swim teams has been. Since I began as assistant coach several years ago, I watched us go from the directly after school times to getting less of that, to having worse meet times, to having late evening practices, to being offered early morning practices, the only alternative, to finally losing half of our school day to go to a swim meet. Every step of the way, the relationship has become more antagonistic, and it has made it harder for both students and the employees, who are the coaches, to perform their duties as expected. I speak as someone who has also coached for the water polo program, and I have seen that while the rhetoric that I have received from the Parks District has been, we need the after school time to make up costs in our swim lesson program, I have also repeatedly seen instances where at, say, the Aloha Swim Center, where we would come in the evenings for the water polo program, we would see 2 full-time employees making $30 an hour plus 2 lifeguards to watch a single practice. I think it is difficult for me to come at this from a perspective of total understanding. As someone who has to balance an aquatics labor budget myself, I have seen THPRD not take the effort to balance this budget and instead to increase the amount of full-time employees who are hourly instead of taking advantage of their salaried labor to handle closing shifts and other related activities. I would also like to bring to the table the importance of equitability in our programs and how many times I am now hearing from my students that they are not willing to come to our practice because they are leaving at 9 p.m. and they have to walk. In many ways, these demographics that we are supposed to be serving are not able to be served. If they do not have their own car or a parent who can come grab them, there is no acceptable way for a 5 to 7 a.m. practice or a 7:30 to 9 p.m. practice. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clausen, name and zip code, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mike Clausen. I live and I vote from 97005. I've got a son who's a junior at Beaverton High School. I've watched him grow up in your pools. He plays water polo for high school and through Tualatin Hills Water Polo Club. He's a swim team for Chris, swims for, Beaverton High School, and he's a lifeguard in your pools. So thank you to the board for allowing me to watch him grow up in such a wonderful environment. But I'm not here to continue talking about the scheduling problems and the decaying relationship. There are plenty of others here from dive, from swim, to belittle those points. I'm here to share a conversation that happened organically last week inside the high school, helping out in a resource center that serves these underprivileged and underrepresented kids. A student overheard myself and another parent complaining about these scheduling issues. Without prompting, without being asked, he simply said, "That's why I'm not swimming this year." 7 words, which really drove home the point. For all the talk that THPRD has about inclusion and equity and trying to be all things for everyone, this student cannot swim this year. They grew up without an opportunity to learn to swim. They learned how to swim at this, this coach taught him how to swim last year. They made probably more improvement than any other swimmer on the team, starting from zero. And I wanted to make sure that you were all aware of this conversation because I think it drives the point home more than another parent up here complaining about the impact of the poor scheduling that it has on our family life, trying to ensure that the athletes eat on time, that they get to bed on time, that they get their homework done. And this clock here tells me that I've used up most of my time. So thank you.
Thank you both for being here. Next up will be Greta Martin and Kat Tolkson. Okay, Greta, you are first. If you can say your name and zip code, and then you can begin.
My name is Greta Martin.
Thank you. If you want to, you can scoot the mic closer if you'd like to. So I can hear you. Yeah, thanks.
I've struggled with my mental health my whole life. At times it has consumed me to the point where I've lost myself and even the people I love most. I felt lost in a world full of hate, pressure, and constant criticism, and for a long time, I didn't know how to find my way out. Then I found the world of diving. It's what saved me. Through diving, I found myself again. I built relationships that will last a lifetime, and I began to smile more, laugh more, and love more. Diving became more than just a sport to me. It became a place where I felt accepted, supported, and understood, even on days when I struggled most. Diving has taught me how to become the best version of myself. It's taught me that nothing is impossible if you're willing to put in the work and trust the people around you. It's taught me that life is too short to not have fun and to not appreciate the moments that truly matter. Most importantly, it's shown me that there are people who will love you for exactly who you are. I look forward to seeing each and every one of my teammates' faces every day. It's a place full of joy, laughter, and love. And you can feel that energy the moment you walk in. It's a place where we push each other to be better, not just as divers, but as people. Being in the water gives me peace, confidence, and a sense of belonging that I didn't have before. Having more time in the water doesn't just make us better athletes. It helps us grow mentally, emotionally, and together as a team. That's why more time in the water matters, because it doesn't just build better divers, it helps build better people. Thank you.
Thank you. Tolson, same name and zip code. Thank you.
Kat Tollefson, 97007. I am here as a proud mother of a beautiful sophomore that loves nothing more than to be in the water. However, 2 years ago, she couldn't swim across the pool without looking like a drowning rat. And it was not until she got into the water polo program, following my footsteps, that I played in water polo back in my high school days. And I will tell you, as a parent looking at what we are giving our children today versus what I was given and the opportunities that I had that are not given to our children today, it is very, very disappointing. Schools allowed us to have practices immediately after schools. We were transported to and from games, and education was put first as well as opportunity. And I'm here to tell you that is not the aquatics program that exists today between BSD and THRPD. Our kids are shoved to the back end. We are forced as parents to provide all transportation, which is a huge limiting factor, as most households have 2 working parents. And if you have 2 working parents, who is going to take your kid and drive them to the meet? Nobody, which means your kid can't participate. Who is going to drive your kids at 9 o'clock at night for practice or for that game? Most families can't do this. Now, it is a privilege that I've been able to keep my daughter involved in these programs to the point that she's now doing even the recreational water polo and thriving. But so many other kids are not given this opportunity because of the lack of access. And if we continue to push them back further and further, it's going to get worse. We've watched water polo here in the Portland metro area go from a thriving sport to almost non-existent. This past year, it was so confuddled that it wasn't until the day practices started that we even knew we had a team. Our teams were shoved together, and we ended up having 24 kids on one team. That severely limited access and time in the pool and made it very difficult for most of these athletes to actually have the experience that they deserve to have, despite the fact that every one of us as parents paid highly for our kids to be able to participate in this sport. 5 times what all other sport activities pay to participate in these sports with their schools. So I think it's time that we analyze our priorities. What examples are we putting forth to these children? And how are we going to make this right for the future so that we can ensure that these kids continue to have the access that they deserve growing up? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are running up against it, but we're going to do our last two. My apologies for those who signed up or will not be able to get to. I encourage you to submit your testimony via email. We do read them all. Our last two are going to be Mark Butcher and Leonard Meyer. And then afterward, I will turn it over to our general manager for some comments. Whoops, I put these over too soon. Mr. Butcher, if you can start and say your name and zip code, and we'll go.
Mark Butcher, 97225.
Thanks a lot.
I am the head coach for the Twelton Hills Dive Club. We've talked about the access. I want to talk a little bit more about the safety precautions we need to take as we're learning the sport. Time is essential for progressions. The core of our program is 7 years old to 12th grade. Most of our program, 70% of our program, are learn to dive, first time in the pool. The time that we are talking about taking away directly affects safety and ability to consistently learn the right movements at the right time to be able to safely compete in our sport. When I was hired, the program was designed around the finalized schedules, and then the schedules changed. When we finalized the schedule, it was focused on established training groups and supervision ratios, which is really important, especially for our sport because it is a dangerous sport in a lot of ways. And we need to be able to have direct supervision over everyone all the time. Taking away essentially 40% of our pool time makes it so that we have to crowd everyone together into one time period and try to make sure that everyone's safe at the same time. For children and teenagers, these disruptions also affect trust and retention. Families commit to schedules, transportation, and expectations based on the stability of the program. We put out our schedule at the beginning of the fall, and then the access was reduced or is going to be reduced. What's going to happen is athletes will disengage and they won't come back. And for us, we are the only diving program in most of Northern California, all of Oregon, all of Southern Washington, all of Eastern Idaho. We're literally the only place to go. So impacting us by 40%. We already have a small amount of hours, but it makes it so that the program as a whole is going to be very difficult to function moving forward. Diving is a really specific skill set. Like movement patterns are all really important. The one thing I would love to point out is this program. I'm new to the program, but I have coached athletes that have come from the program. I coached Division I for 15 years. We had an athlete who was a semifinalist at the Olympic trials in 2024 from this program.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. Okay, Mr. Meyer, full name and zip code, and you'll be our.
Yes. My name is Leonard Meyer. My zip code is 97225. I'm here on behalf of the Beaverton swim team. I'm the father of a freshman on the swim team who recently joined. She participated in THPRD swim programs to learn how to swim, take up with the programs, fell in love with it. But I'm fearful that with the schedule the way that it is, I would see that the school could be disbanding the swim program before she ever becomes a senior. And she has a younger sister who is also going to want to be participating in those programs. And I think that if the programs continue to have schedules where they have to leave school, come back to school, then go home very, very late at night, that these programs will be severely impacted to the point where there will be such low participation that these programs will be disbanded. And I also think that the current schedule, even though I am capable because I do have the means, I think they severely undermine the ability of underprivileged kids to participate in the sports. I don't have a speech written for you, so that's all I've got. I would just like to say that I would like to consider all of the kids. I think that after school, it was astounding to me that after school time wasn't available when I was told the schedule. I was really surprised. So I'll give you your time back, and thank you very much for letting me speak.
All right, thank you both for being here. As I mentioned, I will turn it over to Doug Minke, our general manager, for some comments. And again, apologies for those we were not able to get to this evening, but encourage you to submit those via email or to come back in our February meeting.
Yeah, we first of all really appreciate people coming out. We certainly had a level of emails that came in as well, and those that may be watching. It's always challenging, the passion, the strong interest. Our goal is truly to manage the pool time as fairly as we possibly can. But the key is the full community. And it is challenging because a lot of groups are represented. The reality is balancing all of those interests is not without challenge. The access to pool time from many different user groups, including our general public, our community time, and like a lot of things, the competing interest is really focused. It's 4:30 to 7:30. Everybody wants the 4:30 to 7:30, and understandably. But I think it is obvious that not all users can have the 4:30 to or 4 to 7:30, and some groups are going to have that time. And some groups will not have that time. They'll have early time or later time, as the case may be. On top of all of this, then we had the bell schedule change. And when I say we, that's Beaverton School District. Conscious choice, the decision. I think one could discuss that as well. But the reality is that pushed everything back. And at all times, we have to remember Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District is a park and recreation district. We're not the high competitive end. That's not what we do. We facilitate all of that activity. We give priority to community time. That's in our bailiwick. This means that, we're guided by our values. The highest priority we have is the Learn to Swim programs. Many of you cited those programs, and we're in agreement. Those are critical. Those are life-saving programs. And we certainly understand the interest on the high school side of the program of having the prime hours, but here we are. To accommodate the ask that means we would be taking our Learn to Swim programs, which are predominantly elementary age students, and moving them later. It's really tough. Everybody wants the prime time. The paradox of all of this is to communicate something that you all know to be true, because you live in the community and you live in the metro, you're exposed to the metro area. And the fact of the matter is the Park District has 8 pools. 6 of which operate year-round. And those 6 pools were built, obviously owned by the Park District and operated by the Park District. City of Portland has 11 pools, of which 4 operate year round, and they serve twice the population we serve. On top of that, Hillsborough has 2 pools and only 1 operates year round. And thus the challenges. So we get a lot of pressure. Several of you stated the impact of some of our affiliated programs are the only programs that exist in the state. And that, that responsibility coming back in part for the affiliate and in part towards the park district is much more than the 270,000 people we serve, our taxpayers, which are you. That's the other paradox. The overlap between the Beaverton School District and the Park District is almost identical. They are the same people. And we appreciate that. We work closely with the school district. Is it a perfect science? No, but we're doing our best out there. We are fortunate to have those number of facilities because it actually gives, I suspect, in comparison to other communities, a much higher ratio of time available at a more reasonable time than other groups have. As painful as that is, because it's not ideal time for everybody. We recognize that. And we understand, some of the changes are difficult, but, we feel strongly about our Learn to Swim program and that availability for full community access. We're not isolated. We don't operate in a vacuum. We are so interconnected that when the bell change schedule occurred, of course, it had impacts across the schedule. And it's not just aquatics, it's field sports as well. We can't accommodate everyone's wishes. So we're trying to balance that act as we move forward. Our aquatic staff will continue to work with all parties to refine the schedules as best we can. And I do appreciate everyone coming out, though. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Doug. And thank you all for sharing your perspectives with us. Believe me, we absorb them, we hear them, we read them. So continue to do so as you feel called to do. So we are going to move on to our next item of the agenda and continue the meeting. This will be our Board of Directors time for community liaison updates and other board thoughts. So thank you for joining us. You're welcome to stay, or you are certainly not obligated. So board members who would like to open with community liaisons, other thoughts, you can certainly wait for a little bit if you so choose.
Well, we just came back from the holidays, so a lot of the liaison activities are just starting back again. I have my budget committee meeting tomorrow, which is our kickoff meeting. That's our first one. And then we also have our joint committee meeting coming up soon here. So I think a lot of activities are coming up. In the last couple of weeks, there were not necessarily any liaison or committee activities. So we'll have a better and detailed update in the next meeting.
Okay.
The only thing I did last month or was recently was I took a tour of the future new administrative building with Doug and Gary. Thank you for that. Miles and I were there, and it was big and beautiful. And if you haven't gone yet, I recommend it because you can start to imagine all the different things that we'll be able to do there. And they left us some furniture, which is great. But other than that, yeah. Oh, and we went through registration for winter. So Trace is doing water polo now for the first time, and he was the only 7-year-old with 10, 11, 12-year-olds, yet he was goalie and was able to block them. So that's great.
Okay, I'll jump in. Similarly, I think committee meetings were light because we're coming out of the holiday. So looking forward to regrouping next week for joint advisory committee. I did prepare some remarks in light of the tone and tenor of everything that is going on in our community. And of course, with the violence we saw last week and the murder of Renee Good and local shootings here with 2 more folks, I did prepare some remarks that I would like to share. To my board peers, staff, and community, I'm feeling heavy today And while I know we have business to do, I must take this time to address what's happening in our community. First of all, I want to share an update of a dear friend of mine, Eric. Eric's father, as you may know, was detained and deported to Mexico in a 3-day time span. He had no trial, no lawyer, no due process. Our Constitution, the one we all swore an oath to defend upon taking office, is literally on fire. Eric's dad, Paulino Martin, is currently in the hospital in critical condition. Our country illegally deported him, and now he is fighting to stay alive in a land he barely knows with little or no support. And to be clear, I have permission from Eric and his family to talk about Paulino, and I know there are literally hundreds of Paulinos in our greater Beaverton and Hillsborough community who have been illegally abducted, and the loss of these humans have caused great harm to our families and community. My heart, prayers, and voice go out to each of these families struggling to navigate the violence of our country. On a similar but different note, I want to talk about a sensitive topic in the local news, the Portland City Council president discussion. It pains me to see our neighboring city, a community I love, witness political discourse that includes xenophobic, racist, and sexist statements. Yesterday, local news outlets broke a story of obtained text messages containing incredibly hurtful comments and racist tropes aimed directly at the elected officials of color on the council dais. I've had the honor to meet Councilor Samir Kanal and other Portland City councilors who deserve respect and acceptance in their roles, which brings me to what's happening locally. Our electoral politics have gotten ugly, complicated, messy, lacking political decorum in Washington County. While many elected officials are likely personally impacted, I have witnessed Washington County Commissioner Fye face hateful comments and actions over the last few months. Whether it's the president spewing hate against Somalis or the continued vitriol against Muslims, Venezuelans, and other groups, I'm deeply concerned for our community and the public-facing electeds, specifically electeds of color, who continue to speak loudly and boldly against Trump and the racist policies. We have elected officials who are perpetuating this behavior we saw in Portland, and I am asking us as leaders in this community to be thoughtful and intentional. I've been speaking up on issues that are unpopular for a long time. I am unapologetically going to keep using my ability as an elected to say the hard parts out loud. Washington County electoral politics are racist and harmful. The toxic environment has become unbearable, and all of this comes at a grave cost to our community, who is being disappeared every day. I hope that people will start to lift the veil and see the xenophobic nature of some of the electeds in this area and hold them accountable. Our community deserves better. We must choose inclusion over division. We must choose love over hate. And we must model the ways in which we do that in this room and outside of this room, together with respect, civility, and dignity. As the only white elected on this board, I want to recommit and say with conviction that I am dedicated to using my power and privilege to keep speaking up and interrupting behaviors of white supremacy, not only when doing so may become popular at times, but because it is the right moral thing to do. It's all connected. From speaking up for our Palestinian neighbors and the ongoing genocide, or standing in solidarity with our immigrant and refugee neighbors under attack by armed, masked agents, to our Iranian families fighting for basic human rights, to the blatant racism embedded in our local politics. Now more than ever, my ask is that we speak truth to power and stand in solidarity with those most impacted. I fear our very humanity is at stake. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts and my remarks.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, I do not have anything to report, and so I'm going to move us along to our consent agenda item number 7. I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Jessica, would you please take roll when you're able?
Barbie Minor,
Yes.
Pradnya Patel,
Yes.
Tia Ping,
Yeah.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes. Okay, we are on to agenda item number 8. We are talking about our Parkside building improvements and furnishings procurement.
We have Gary Keck, our Planning and Development Manager, and Corey Abbey here to share this update with you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. My name's Gary Keck. I'm the Planning and Development Manager, and with me tonight is Corey Abbey, our new Capital Improvement Project Manager, and has been leading us on the Parkside building improvements. To request the Board of Directors approval of the construction phase amendment to in the amount of $6,970,852, and to approve additional funding for the project by rescinding the original SDC interfund loan request in the amount of $4 million to instead approve an SDC interfund loan request in the amount of $4,500,000, and to reallocate $924,000 of savings within the general fund. We're also seeking approval of a contract for our furniture and equipment in the amount not to exceed $500,000, and authorization for the general manager or designee to negotiate and execute the design build amendment and the furniture contract. Now, all these requests are associated with our end goal to move into the Parkside building by September 1st of 2026, which is when our Fannel Creek Service Center lease with the Timbers expires. So in July of 2025, staff completed the design build competitive bidding process, and we went through a thorough review. We had 10 RFPs submitted. And here you can see on the left, that is a photo of our well-attended pre-bid meeting. The district ended up selecting and executing a contract with a team of Lease Crucher Lewis as the general contractor lead, and they had FFA Architecture and Interiors as the design lead. Now, since the design phase began in August of 2025, the Lewis and FFA team have worked closely with staff to understand the requirements that we have and the needs that we have for the new administration facility and to complete the design. We've already worked through our schematic design. We've gone through a design development phases, and we recently submitted our land use application to the city of Beaverton, and we found out Friday that we were deemed complete on our first go round, which is great news to keep the project moving. Now, in addition, we have been working concurrently on a couple of other projects related to the Parkside site, including improving a trail connection that connects the HMT complex, the north parking lot, to the Parkside site, and then to the next door corporate center to the east of us. And this allows a continued pedestrian access between these properties once our enclosed fleet yard gets fenced in. If you recall, we're going to be fencing in the southeast corner, which we'll show some drawings here soon. The middle photo there is a photo of the work our staff did recently. It was a really narrow, muddy path, and now they have improved it to a year-round use to get through that little space. What you see in the background is the north parking lot of HMT. So we're standing in the Parkside lot right there. We've also contracted with the fencing company to install the perimeter fencing around the fleet area, and construction began about 3 weeks ago. You can see the far right photo shows that the fencing is going up. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to pass it to Corey, who's going to go over some more of the progress that we've made so far.
Like Gary mentioned, since August, we've been working diligently with the design build team to finalize the design of the Parkside building to include what the district needs to turn this into the new administration and operations building. We're trying to use as much as possible of the existing building as is, so we're only doing renovations in about 25% of the building. Many of the renovations in the main building are on the first floor. That's what you can see here, and include improving the lobby, creating our own boardroom, building a print production room, and modifying a set of restrooms to be gender neutral. Here's a perspective of the proposed boardroom. This has helped us visualize and fine-tune the design and function of the space. You can see the audience seating, the board dais, a visual monitor behind the board, and staff seating on the right side of the room. The biggest renovation that we're doing in the building is for the proposed fleet and trade spaces. Here we are creating an access point to the main building, which currently does not exist. We're also providing spaces for our tool room, trades workspaces, including carpentry and paint, a storage warehouse space, and new mechanic space. There will be 3 new vehicle bays with all the equipment and utility to service all our district vehicles, tractors, and trailers. There will also be dedicated welding space and tire storage. On the exterior, we are enclosing the southeast corner for our fleet parking, equipment storage, EV charging stalls, a wash rack, and various other amenities. We're also creating an exit onto Schlottman Place on the west and maintaining pedestrian connections, as Gary mentioned earlier. Gary might try to show you with the mouse. So this is the new drive aisle on the west side for our teams going out to do work with the trailers and trucks. Staff have been working with the team on plans that focus on the district's immediate needs for a new administration building, and concepts have been developed and defined for all the integral spaces of the building and site. The original $7,800,000 project budget was established before Lewis and FFA were brought on board for the design build effort. Through this design phase, we've been working with the Lewis team to evaluate the design details, material options, and anticipated construction costs. To date, we've been able to reduce the cost from the original construction estimate by $750,000. To complete the renovation and furnish the building to meet staff and public needs, the project is estimated to be $9,224,000, creating a $1,424,000 budget shortfall. I'd like to note that just over $1,154,000 of the estimated project cost is contingency. This includes a 12.5% contingency within the Lewis construction phase amendment and a 5% project contingency being held by THPRD. Any unused contingency will be returned to the project, reducing the funds requested for the SDC interfund loan. To meet the estimated project costs, staff recommend using additional funds from 2 sources like Gary mentioned. $924,000 in reallocated savings from the THPRD fiscal year 25-26 general fund, and an interfund loan in the amount not to exceed $4,500,000 from the SDC fund. I'm going to give it back to Gary to talk a little about schedule.
Thank you, Corey. So here you can see we have 2 schedules going. We have the interior construction going on, which is one design package, and we have the exterior construction going on, which is separate design package. The exterior has to go through land use, which, as you know, takes up to 4 months. So we're trying to use the best time we can. We're going to start in the building as soon as we can. So if approved tonight with the request, we feel we could start construction on the interior in February. And then in the exterior would start sometime in May, with the goal to be done by July 31st. And that gives us a month to move in and get out of Battle Creek Service Center before the September 1st deadline. So there are several requests tonight. I'll go over them one more time. As mentioned previously, we're seeking approval from the board for the construction phase amendment in the amount of $6,970,852. We are also requesting to rescind the original request of the $4 million interfund loan from the SDC program, and instead request an SDC interfund loan in the amount not to exceed $4.5 million, and a reallocation of $924,000 in savings from the THPRD general fund, an approval of a contract for the procurement of the furniture and equipment for the building in an amount not to exceed $500,000, and authorization for the general manager or designee to execute the amendment and the furniture contract. And that concludes our staff report, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Go ahead.
So I was looking at your slide 14, where you have the project budget and the costs. It looks to me, in general, the overall budget versus the actual cost after onboarding the developer and the designer team has not changed. It's just the internal allocation has shifted, which is why we're doing is that understanding correct?
Well, actually, there is a shortfall from the original budget, if I'm understanding your question right. We have 7.8 budgeted, but currently we need 9.224 to get the project completed. A lot of the increase has come from construction costs. Well, we originally thought we'd have a $5.8 million construction budget. That's what we went with. When we went through the design with our design build team, we found out that wasn't sufficient. So now in tonight's request, you can see it's 6.9 million that has come to light. And we've worked really hard, as Corey had mentioned, to try to keep as much of what we have there and not touch it. But we do have some things that we need to improve to make this building meet our needs, primarily the mechanics bay. You imagine all the equipment and lifts and stuff we have at Fannel Creek Service Center, if you've been there. We're going to take a lot of that equipment over to the new building and just reinstall it. But there's still a lot of design that has to happen and construction in that mechanic bay area to make it functional for our use, because this is where our main operation building will be. So I don't know if that answered exactly.
It does. I was actually looking at the proposed budget and the total cost and then the 9 million and the 9 million. That's what I thought were similar, but I see a point. I think you started with the 7.8 and now
Yes.
you're at 9. Yep.
That is correct. The image of the figures you see here on the left are the original budget and our thought and how it is impacted with what we have now. And then the right is what we're proposing and how it's separated through there. And in the shortfall, as Corey mentioned, 1.1 million is contingency. And if we don't use it, it goes back to the project, which means we would take out less of a interfund loan in there. So this is our first design build contract of this size. It's worked really well so far, I'll say. The design team's on board and the contractor, and they're really working with us to find ways to save money. We mentioned $750,000 in savings from what we originally said, here's what we want to do. And with all their ideas, different materials, different designs that still meet our needs, we were able to bring that down quite a bit.
Just one last question. Have we done any assessment on if we shift this money for this project, any impacts on other projects that were planned for 2026 may be impacted? Is there some sort of assessment done on that?
For SDCs, no, it does not impact it. And I might ask you or Aisha about that, but we do have undesignated SDCs in our budget right now of.
Yes, so the potential for us to use up to $500,000 more of SDCs is not going to reduce what we're able to do with the programmed projects we have for the next 5 years. So as Gary mentioned, we have an undesignated pot of funds. That's where we're drawing this interfund loan from that we will pay back over the next several years. And the $924,000 is not reallocated capital project dollars. Those are operational funds that were, we budgeted higher than the cost actually came in. So those are savings within general fund, not capital. So no projects are going to be affected by these shifts in funding to facilitate the project.
Okay, thank you. That's good to hear.
Thank you for those questions. Any other comments, feedback on this right now? Yeah, no, I think this is, I know this project, as we've said, to move all the maintenance fleet over, and I mean, it's a massive undertaking. And I appreciate the staff effort. And obviously we all know hard to exactly pinpoint this thing from far away and have it be exact, but this is a critical building for us to keep our parks safe and clean and our facilities well serviced. And to also open up new community space at HMT Center once we move in there. So So thank you very much. With that in mind, I will entertain a motion to cover a lot of those points you listed from anybody who would choose to lead it. Oh, maybe.
Do you want to do it? You do it.
The whole thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still new to the board. I move that the Board of Directors approve the following. Approval of the construction phase amendment in the amount of $6,970,852. Rescind the original request of a $4 million interfund loan from the SDC fund and instead request the authorization of SDC fund interfund loan in an amount not to exceed $4,500,000 and the reallocation of $924,000 in savings from the THPRD general fund and approval of a contract with Rose City Office Furnishing for the procurement of furniture and other office equipment in an amount not to exceed $500,000 and authorization of the general manager or designee to execute the amendment and the furnishing contract.
Yeah, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Jessica, would you please take the float?
Tia Ping,
Yeah.
Barbie Minor,
Yes.
Pradna Patel,
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary and Aisha. Okay, we're on to our next agenda item regarding a replacement bond measure.
Hello, I am back again. So this evening we have a milestone moment, and I want to take a journey backwards and start with the levy task force. When the levy task force did their work for us, we asked them to help us determine if we should go to the voters and ask for their consideration of an operational levy in 2024. Remember, we asked that task force for 3 recommendations, and that task force gave us a bonus. They gave us a 4th. And what they said from their work was they were really concerned about our investment in capital and that they did not think our annual investment was enough or sufficient in our operating budget. And they asked us, as we eyed the replacement of the 2008 bond measure, to really focus our strategy on repairing, replacing, taking care of the system that we've built, and to be very protective and assertive around capital replacement in that bond. Fast forward to the last year and a half, and I really want to compliment Bruce Barbarash, who is on the line. Bruce and Aisha were our leaders in working across the organization to determine the capital needs of the district. And, you know, funding government, it's kind of wonky, it's kind of boring. We talk every year about our annual operating budget, but we pay for big things through bond measures, through capital. This is a generally once in a 20-year exercise. Very few of us, I think Doug and Jessica, not a lot of others of us were here in 2008 to watch that process. And they had the homework, Bruce, Aisha, and the team, to look at our capital needs across the district. And that information told us we had over $300 million in capital needs. And that's a lot. We got a plan for that. And the information also told us we've built a wonderful system and we really have to take care of what we built. And the information from our public-led, our community-led task force to focus on repair, to focus on replacement, to take care of what we built from that citizen looking through the budget perspective was right on with what our professionals told us. Then you go to September, where we do the polling and we ask our community, we're looking at typical voters, their preferences, their priorities, and that lined up perfectly. I've been working in This will be, if this moves forward, this will be the 6th voting measure question that I've worked on. And I've never seen polling so aligned with the vision of what the task force and what the community and what the staff have put together. And just as a reminder, that polling that we did in September finished with over 70% of participants supporting the bond measure and over 75% saying we were doing the distribution the right way, that they absolutely wanted us to focus on repair and replacement and taking care of what we've built. I want to recognize Jim McCright, who's one of our bond task force members. You heard from Jim and Sylvia last month as they carry forward their recommendation. I don't want to repeat or cover the same territory. We've been through this process now for a year and a half, this journey has been. And the bond task force, looking under the hood of our budget, looking at under the hood of the capital areas that we put together for the measure, said, yes, please go forward. Please go in May, and please work to focus on repair and replacement. We had a conversation around the levy before the referral. And one of the things that I asked the board to really focus on and center is when you vote on this resolution tonight, you're really empowering the voters of the district to make an informed decision, right? We are asking you to allow the voters to have the information about what the bond measure will fund, to have the information about what it will allow us to do from safety and repair and replacements, thinking of our aging facilities, thinking of the roofs, the heating and cooling systems, the outdated security systems, all of the expenses that you can see that we need for the Parkside building. Now magnify that towards all of our other buildings and the infrastructure investments that they need. Think about our trail connections. Think about the pavement that's really needing repairs. Think about the missing connections. Think about the West Side Trail Bridge that will make an important connection for us. Think about the protection of the natural areas. Think about our ability to purchase targeted land, to create acquisition strategies that fill gaps in our system so that we can take care of underserved areas. It's through the investment in bond measures that we're able to fund and do that long-range capital work that builds and takes care of what's coming down the pipeline, but also takes care of and reinvests in what we've built as a system. So tonight, we ask you to strongly consider the good advice you got from our bond task force members and to consider the resolution before you. With that, we shared information about what we would be presenting to voters in terms of the 10-word caption, the 20-word question, and the 175-word summary. I say the following with all the humility and kindness I can muster. I think you saw through the values and priorities discussion, I was right there with you in editing. We can't do that to this document. This document did not go through our normal legal counsel. It went through 2 different attorney firms who are specialists in bond counsel, right? They're bond counsel. They're not even our normal attorneys. There are sections of this verbiage that is there because it's statutorily required. There are things that are in there that are worded very specifically. We've had lots of arguments over what individual words mean. And if you've ever, when I say we went through 2 law firms, that's attorneys plural, right? Like each law firm has more than one attorney that we had to deal with. So I just say with all the kindness and, I can muster, these words are kind of set in stone, so let's not focus on them. But no, if you're like, Holly, you're missing things, like where's the information about how much it will cost a year or a month? We still have the 500-word explanatory statement where we get to add more information. And that isn't due until March, and staff add all of that information in there. This 10-word, 20-word, and 175 sections are torturous to write and edit and very technical and prescriptive in what they have to have in there. So thank you. I apologize for that. So I'll turn it your way, but the staff presentation is over to say thank you for your support on this journey. The ball is in your court to consider this resolution, and happy to take any comments, questions y'all have.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Thank you to all the hard work you've put on staff, everyone who's helped to formulate this, Mr. McCrate and your team. Thank you for your service in helping us kind of evaluate this and very thoroughly. And we have done so. I think it's important for us to maintain our investment in what we have, which is one of the premier parks and recreation districts in the country. And so I usually don't blab so much first, but I did want to tee that up. But any other comments and feedback before we entertain a motion?
Beautifully written.
Okay.
I'm ready to move forward.
Sure.
Okay. I move that the Board of Directors approve Resolution 2026-01 calling for an election in the Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District on May 19th, 2026 to submit a bond measure to the district voters.
Second.
Alfredo, if we could, we probably should have a second as well.
Oh, yeah. Do we have a?
Yep.
I'll third.
Or third.
Officially, I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Jessica, would you please?
Tia Ping,
Yeah.
Barbie Minor,
Yes.
Rania Patel,
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes. Okay. Motion passes. Let's proceed along to the general manager's report.
I was gonna take it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Juan Caez. I'm the Center Supervisor for the LC Stir Center. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity today to talk to you a little bit about the LC Stir Day. LC Stir is a patriarch of what we have here at Tualatin Hills. And LC Stir Day is a celebration of her. This year was particularly special. We have 50 years of history at the LC Stir Center coinciding with 75 years of Tualatin Hills as a whole. So we've been there 25 years in. We've been servicing the 55 and older community. And it is a community. LC Stir Day is a great opportunity to bring in the different parts of our community together that go to the LC Stir Center, whether they're doing fitness, they're there for arts and crafts, they're there because they want a place to socialize with other people who are of the same age and just spend time and get out of their house. It is a special place, and this is a special day where we get to commemorate all the work that she helped to get us where we are now. For those of you who don't know, Elsie Stir was a physical education teacher and a lifelong learner who deeply believed in the importance of physical, recreational, and social activities for all members of the community, especially those who are 55 and older. Her philosophy wasn't just about fitness. It was about dignity, connection, and continuing to grow at every stage of life. Each year we celebrate LC Stir Day and we intentionally honor those values. For the 50th, we really worked with our community partners. As we've come out of COVID, we've really started to grow in that area, finding new partners to come in, as well as our own internal THPRD partners to put in on a program that I want to share with you today. So I do want to take you through a quick ride since many of you work full-time jobs and aren't quite in that age group that would typically be able to experience the Stir Center as patrons. So we kick things off at 9 a.m. The picture on the left is us doing one of our activity stations that we had set up. On the left is Leah Lundy. She's one of our program coordinators there, and as well as one of our patrons. And they were working on, building like crafting crowns. And I think through that space throughout the day, we had the table set up through most of the day. And people kept looking at it and, interacting with it. But I want to say about 20 people built a crown. 27 if you consider the staff, and they made one for me. We had a lot going on that day. And on the right, another big thing that this community really loves is free things and raffles. So every activity that you participated in got you a raffle ticket. So on the right, we have our staff having one of our patrons come up. And I was coming to you, I promise. We have somebody here today who is wearing one of those very shirts, and they are all very proud if they happen to win one, because they're proud of what the Stir Center stands for and the the community that it represents. So yeah, that's how the day started, was some of those activities. And then we carried on just, to a different aspect of learning and wellness. Throughout the day, we offered healthy snacks and hydration station. Those are on the left with cucumber water and lemon water. So that way, as you're going from physical activities and learning activities, you can stay hydrated. And we're trying to do something special and make it a really, really great day of engaging with the Stir Center and our staff. The second photo is us working with our community partners. That's TVYFL, helping teach seniors practical CPR training for those people in their age group. We also worked with our therapeutic gardening program here at THPRD, and used one of our other THPRD programs to put together a cost-effective and affordable healthy eating program. Each of these lasted about an hour, where people were to come in and for free be able to engage with that. And I think these sessions really reflect something we hear consistently from our patrons, is they want practical tools to support their independence, their health, and their quality of life. Movement was a major theme throughout the day. And we wanted to feel accessible and not intimidating. On the left, you'll see Christy, one of our fantastic fitness instructors. I don't have enough adjectives to put towards her to show how great she is and how beloved she is within our community. We had her demonstrating, as well as I believe it was 6 other fitness instructors throughout the day working with the fitness team to give a sampling of classes so that you can come in and learn about the activities. It did interrupt some of our regulars, which, change is not always well received, but those who did join us in those sessions did like learning something new. I personally saw people who don't normally go to these classes showing up for the little 10 to 15 minute bite-sized snippets from our fitness sampler. And so that got them moving. That at least got them engaged and thinking about it. So that was really great. On the right, you'll see our line dancing instructor in a packed house. That is our Oak Room. We had to turn people away. We weren't expecting that many people. And they're just doing a line dancing. And this is one of our more popular classes that have recently come back. One, from the demand of the community, but also just a great instructor doing a great job for us up there. Yeah, and so we really just thought it was great to have people try things that were new. All these things are free for the public, which really they have to pay a registration fee. But Elsie Stir Day, movement, education, learning, nutrition, all the things that she valued. And at the end of the day, we wrapped up with the concert, which brought together about 75 of our patrons. And the choir that sang from us was actually a 55 and older group called the West Side Singers. They did a phenomenal job. Aisha was able to join us, and Barbie were there. Aisha and I gave remarks at the beginning. And I think, besides, honestly, the cake is always a big hit. I think that's, you say cake, they just showed up. I don't know if they really heard me until I said cake during our speech, but once cake hit, I knew they all heard me because they all ran to it. The concert itself was really special. There was moments where, because of the songs that were done, some of our patrons were cried. They moved towards the song. It gave them memories of past. And I really do think it was amazing that this particular group came together to give us a song that I actually keep up in my office right now. It was a parody on the YMCA song, and they used it, and they had their own hand signs for it, and it was LC for me. And so instead of YMCA as LC for me, it was actually a really, really cool experience all the way around that all parts of our community got to enjoy. And again, couldn't say enough about all the work that went into it from our staff there, the patrons buying in. And the community got to enjoy all of this. The community that already exists at the Stir Center was there, and they showed up for a day full of activities that celebrated Elsie Stir, Elsie herself, and the work that THPRD does for this community. And I think another huge part of this day that I'm not going to touch on, but I'm going to hand over to my colleagues, is our visioning session. So what we use Elsie Stir Day to spring forward and look ahead to what the next 50 years are going to look like. And I'll hand it over to Lulu for more on that.
And good evening, everyone. Lulu Ballesteros, Equity and Engagement Manager. As Juan was sharing, we had a very important question to answer. What is our vision for the next 50 years for the LC Store Center? Before we jump into the activities that staff led, we wanted to share a little bit about recent training that Holly and I attended. It's called Top Facilitation Methods, and it's led by an organization that is internationally renowned for these types of activities called Institute of Cultural Affairs. We just want to take a moment and share about this because it has a lot of potential for other programs and activities that we want to connect with community at THPRD. It's designed to support inclusive participation across different ways of learning and communication styles. It's effective for individuals, one-on-one, small groups, big groups, in a way that all voices can be included. And also it has a little bit of neuroscience, meaning how do we think, how do we process, how do we collaborate? So more to come on this. It's a very flexible, huge toolkit that we are looking forward to applying for other projects. And with that, I want to pass it along to Holly.
So Lulu and I had the fun opportunity to practice these skills that we learned at the conference the next week. And I have to give Emily and Julie and Juan a lot of credit because we said, we're not quite sure how we're going to do this, but we're going to go to training and then we're going to come back and we're going to do what we learned there. And they went, okay, we trust you. So that was lovely. We ended up doing 2 visioning workshop sessions. And I want to give all the credit in the world to Emily Kent, because Emily said to me the following: what is our vision for the Stir Center? And how, I want to start working on that with the Stir community. And we said, let's make that happen at LC Stir Day. What better place to do that? And this consensus workshop model, which Barbie, you were there. I can't wait to hear what you have to say in the comments when it gets there. But it really is designed to take people who all think differently and have them co-produce together in a time frame. It could be an hour, hour and a half. We had to do it in 45 minutes, which was tight. But a shared vision of what they want for the future. And as you can see, we did 2 workshops. We talked with 41 people total. The information is very consistent. So this is the information from the first workshop. And people tagged and labeled these areas themselves. These are people's ideas that they organized as a group, and they came together as a group, and they labeled as a group, this is what we want for the future. You can see expanded programs and resources, expanding and improving the facility with lots of specifics inside of there. To Christy's point, preserving and expanding the green space. We heard that big time, a lot of passion there, and improved parking and transportation options to make it easy for your people to get to and from the center. In the second workshop, people focused and talked about relevant programming, their dreams for seeing program expansion, again, very consistent with the first workshop, expanding capacity, different activities that they would see happening at the center, having a healthy life in nature. Again, lots of talk about preserving the outdoor space and how important that outdoor space was to the vitality of the Stir community. More community resources and connecting with other organizations that serve the same population, and yummy nutrition, which was such a cute label. So we were really excited to be able to do this. We've talked with Julie and with Emily about where does this information go. And they are taking the information from the visioning. They have this. We've shared it with the Friends group as well. And it really is a platform now for the staff working at the STIR Center, along with the Friends of the STIR and the whole STIR community, to rally around these shared ideas and start talking about, okay, what do we want to start seeing happen? And how do we start moving in the shared direction? And it was amazing to see people come into that room with, their one or two ideas, and in 45 minutes put together a cohesive picture and a shared image of how they see the STIR Center serving the community the next 50 years.
Very, very interesting exercise to make happen in 45 minutes, and we had to hurry because at the end there was cake.
Yeah,
so that was the
make them late for the cake.
yes. And we also wanted to provide a second facilitation option for folks that could not participate in that 45-minute opportunity. So we did a World Cafe. Many of you have been part of this, be it we know it or not. It's basically different tables behaving. Different questions, and people have the opportunity to go around, talk about each question, and share out. We had the fabulous Katie and Chelsea, our staff members, leading these conversations, and we had the following important points that the community shared. So deep enthusiasm for long-term future of LC STIR Center, prioritizing on expanding enrichment and fitness offerings, alongside more intergenerational activities that help reduce isolation and build connection. Accessibility upgrades and overall facility comfort. There were many recurring themes, for example, larger rooms, adapted seating, basic little conveniences like hooks, water stations, and functioning entrances. And then parking is important. Room capacity was also noted as a big challenge. Participants also voiced the importance of keeping those green spaces and ask for more expanded hours. So finally, the group recommended THPRD continue looking ahead, securing sustainable funding, and using demographic forecasts to guide decision-making for an aging and evolving community. And with that, pass it along.
Too far ahead, but yeah, that was it for us.
Thank
Yeah,
you all.
questions?
Thank you all three of you for that presentation. I'm sure we have some comments and things to share. So
I'll jump.
please.
Because I had the pleasure of attending in person. And there's kind of two parts that I want to share. First part, regardless of what activity is taking place at LC STIR Center, it truly is just such a special, different, unique place. And it is palpable that the word community comes in. Everyone knows one another, the conversations that you see, the congregations in hallways, there's things taking place, but that sense, it really just does warm my heart, so much so that I've even planted the seed of, does even naming it LC STIR Center describe what it is that we provide there? It is just so rooted in community. I think the second component that I would share is, in this case, you've done an incredible job of summarizing how we got there. I think I would just love to share some color commentary that, having in my professional life, trying to drive consensus and seek some kind of sticky note whiteboarding things. I've seen a million and one ways to do this. This was the most effective and efficient and brainstormed genius that I've in my professional career have seen. We sat down at tables first, and I mean, to ask for a remit, what do you want to see in 50 years? I'm sitting here thinking, how are you ever going to synthesize this information? Because you basically are asking for feedback of anything under the sun, the next 50 years. And we were in these smaller tables and we were able to give our ideas. And quickly, as those smaller groups were giving their ideas, they then got put up onto the board. And the way in which it was splattered of all of these things, and then you start to like ask questions and engage. Well, is that what you really mean? I don't know. And you're seeing folks who have different points of view, but once you're able to like have that conversation, quickly our facilitators, Holly and Lulu, are like, oh, well, this is what we're hearing. And I walked out of that 45 minutes going, well, this is the roadmap. Like, it just happened, just like that, organically. Of course, it needs to be vetted, and this is the party of the folks that were just there. But if there's an opportunity, I already think that we have a best-in-class community outreach and engagement when we are looking at new developments and what kinds of things are we needing. I absolutely agree. And I'm just so excited to hear that this wasn't something that may live in isolation. I think this is something that could even be mobile and is easy to do at some of our pop-up things where we have a table and we're tabling. Hey, do you 5 folks want to be in this? It just was really amazing to see. And so kudos to the staff for pulling all of that off. And I really do hope that we can not just keep this information here as potential data points, but that again, I'm with Emily in the what is the vision, and we do know that this last word here, demographics, our community is going to get larger in this 55 and better, not smaller, and so we really do have some thinking to do, and I'm just excited to have that work jump started. So thank you, Juan. Appreciate all that you and Emily and your whole crew do over there at LC Stir. And I didn't get to win the lottery of the raffle and get a shirt, but gosh darn it, if there's an extra one somewhere, your girl over here wants one. No.
Other comments?
I had a question for when we did our visioning task force. I'm sure we had an LC Stir specific, I'm assuming, outreach, if I can remember right, and from the 2019. Do we have that data that we can pull and just kind of use to help collate these? Because essentially that also should have shaped the next 20 years, right? Theoretically. And so I would be interested to see if they kind of align, to see the consistency of that. On top, yes, I love this. My stretch goal for this, if we continue with this, is to figure out why our 55 plus community who isn't using LC Stir is not using LC Stir, and what is missing that would bring those people in, because it is such a special spot. It is one of the first places I toured when I became an elected. And I loved it. I saw the uniqueness of it, the need for it. And so my hope is that it continues to grow. And I feel like the people who are there now understand how special it is, but we need to figure out a way to continue to bring those. And the earlier we get, right, at 55, the larger of a support and the longevity of these patrons would have. So however we can think of to figure out why people are not using it would be an important co-idea for this.
Great, thank you. Any?
Well, I just want to say thank you. This is so wonderful to see. I know it took a lot of effort from the team, but I can also see that it made our patrons really, really happy. So thank you for making it so special for them.
Great, thank you. Yeah, certainly LC Stir Center has been on my mind a lot lately. So this was well timed. And I've been grateful for the chance to get to know it better and get to know the people who love it so much better. So I was able to swing by on like the fastest express visit. And I think I was in the World Cafe facilitation room for a little bit. And it was great to see some of the thoughts and visions, because I think collectively, we all want to see the LC Stir Center expand its role and thrive and continue to serve more and more people at more hours throughout the day. So that's something we're all committed to. Seeing all this and seeing the things that you shared, one where, some of you know, some of you don't know, over the holiday break, I had to shoot down to El Paso, Texas, put my 84-year-old dad in skilled nursing. And man, I've been just the importance of movement and community as you age, and being with people that inspire you to socialize and move your body and things like that while you're able, and expand that time that you're able to do that is just near and dear. So thank you to all the staff and all the people who make the LC Stir Center so very good. So all right, we will move us on to new business. I believe Kylie is still with us. All right. And an Oregon State Legislative session on the way.
We'll hope that these mics hold.
Yes, yes.
Few moments here.
We might need a earmark for some mics.
Well,
at the next
whichever one works is probably the answer
All
there.
right, thank you. Ashley.
Good evening. I'm Aisha Panis, your Deputy General Manager, and I'm here tonight with Kylie Gruno from Meriwether Strategies, who serves as our state lobbyist. And we have an update for you on where we're headed with the 2026 short session. So as you're aware, we have been before you in previous years to establish our federal and state platforms that identify our priorities, our legislative priorities, and they do differ between state and federal. But the work that we do in conversation with you helps guide the work that Kylie's able to do for us down in Salem. And so we wanted to come to you tonight and give you a couple of updates, talk about a couple of tweaks we'd like to suggest you consider for the 2026 legislative platforms, and hear from Kylie on some of the updates on how this session's going to go. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is some very recent information. We have submitted some funding requests through the congressional delegation in DC, and we, I think, had an FY24 project that was for HVAC retrofits across the district, some air filtration, some addition of heating and cooling. And earlier tonight in your consent agenda, you approved one of those projects at the Cedar Hills Rec Center. And so that project's underway, and we have more work to do, and that will roll out over time. We have a few years to get through it. So big step taken tonight. Thank you for that. And then we heard that today we were supposed to have the wildfire mitigation request that was from FY25 go to the Senate floor. It did clear the House. It was supposed to get approved today, but I did not hear from our federal lobbyist that that happened, so it may be tomorrow. But that is work that helps us with reduction of fuels and I believe helps us get some equipment to take care of wildfire mitigation. So that is a great one. And that was supported by a joint request that we submitted through both Senators Merkley and Wyden. And so hopefully we have something to thank Senator Merkley for on Friday when we see him at Conestoga for his town hall. So I will keep you posted on when we know for sure whether that funding has moved forward. As I mentioned, we do have slightly different programmatic areas that we focus on in federal versus state. And so these are the 5 programmatic areas that we look at for our federal priorities. Active transportation has been a big one because of a significant amount of funding can come to us from federal sources for our trails. Social equity is, of course, key. And natural resource conservation and community health and wellness are also very closely tied to the NRPA, the National Recreation and Park Association pillars. So those 3 kind of match up there. And then climate adaptation and community resiliency has been an evolving and increasingly important area that we have focused in. You've heard Holly talk previously about the importance of us seeking funding for 2FERS and 3FERS. And a lot of times that is something that allows us to do something recreationally oriented, but it also helps meet a need on the emergency management side of things. And so we have added that to our list of priority areas that we're seeking funding. So this can look like with the HVAC retrofit project, where we can add the air filtration and heating and cooling opportunities at our facilities that absolutely benefit us when we're offering things like summer camps during wildfire season, but it can also serve as a community shelter site when needed. So that, again, has been a new and very important area for our focus. And then on the state level, many things are similar here. We have climate adaptation and community resiliency. We still have social equity and equitable access important. Funding is, of course, very critical, but within the state, we keep a keen eye on our system development charge system. There are lots of fingers that get pointed as the reason why housing isn't so affordable, but system development charges are the way that we can keep up and meet the needs of a growing community that desires Park and Rec and needs it to thrive and is an enhancement to the communities that we build. So when threats come the way of system development charges, Kylie is watching and she is holding folks accountable. She is asking questions, and we're getting we're getting to the table when conversations are happening. So that's very important. And then, of course, local agency control and authority. We're mindful of unfunded mandates. So new rules that come through, what will that do for us? How will that affect our ability to provide services to our community? So in your packet, we provided a draft 2026 platform, and we wanted to note that there are several things that continue to be high priorities for us. One of the top is our seeking of funding for the West Side Trail Bridge over Highway 26. We continue to be very concerned about looking for ways to expand Cooper Mountain Nature Park, because as development to the south occurs, it becomes more threatened, and we want to save that gem for future generations. As I mentioned, climate adaptation and community resiliency is a keen focus area, and we have in recent years taken greater steps toward being a larger partner in the region on emergency response and preparedness. And so these are areas that we're really seeking to look into. Annexation is an item that matters to us because we have an ultimate service boundary that we understand we will be serving areas that are between the cities of Hillsborough and Portland and Tigard. And so rules that come through relating to annexation matter to us. We want to make sure that we can have the ability to annex and welcome in new community members to our district. And of course, tax and local revenue reform has been an ongoing conversation, in particular, since we started talking about the incredible impacts that things like just rising costs of employing people and providing services to communities cost. Our costs increase at a greater rate than the 3% per year that our property taxes can increase, and that is the largest source of our funding. So we want to be a part of a larger solution. We know that the answer isn't always going to be go for a bond, go for a levy. That is not going to be a sustainable model moving forward. So we want to be a part of that larger conversation. And then there are some minor edits to the platform that we wanted to note. Some are just language adjustments based on how things are being discussed outside of our district. So there was a reference to drought. We want to broaden that to extreme weather. We had air purification as a funding priority, but with the funding we received through Bonamici's support, Congresswoman Bonamici's support for that HVAC retrofit, that was nearly $1 million worth of funding that can help us move toward that for many of our sites. So that doesn't need to necessarily be a highlighted area. And then we also did get a long-term fix for recreational immunity, which was fantastic in the last year. So we've pulled that from the platform that you've been working with up till now. So that is the draft changes that we wanted to talk about. We did want to hear from you tonight, whether there are any additional items that you want us to be aware of and to fit into that platform. And if you do have changes, we can bring this back to you at your consent agenda in February for approval. But anything you provide to us tonight gives us the guidance that Kylie needs as the session kicks off next month. So it will be a fast and furious one. Kylie will give you more dates to explain that. But we would anticipate coming back to you sort of midway through the session in March at your March meeting that is a recap. It will be the end of the session that we will come back to you in March to talk about. We thought about whether there'd be an opportunity to come to you in February, but it won't have happened. Not much will have happened at that point to give you an update. But if there is something notable, we can absolutely change that. But at a minimum, you will hear from us in March to hear how the short session went. Now I'll turn it over to Kylie, who's going to talk a little bit more about the session itself.
Hello. So first I wanted to say that, and I'm always at the end of the meeting, so it's always, so I feel like I want to say a lot, but also I feel like I need to talk fast, so I'll try to navigate that. First, I wanted to say that I am thrilled to be back before you, and I am incredibly appreciative that I get to continue to do work to support THPRD and all of the good work that you do. Is this working? Do I need to be close? Yeah. Okay, I just need to be really friendly with the mic. Okay. So anyway, thrilled, appreciative. I'm so glad to be sitting here. So this is the upcoming dates for the legislative session that we have in front of us. So we're actually in the middle of interim legislative days right now. These are an opportunity for legislators to hear about previous legislation or issues that are in need of legislation. They are not days in which actual action can take place. They are also in the interim days that are right before a session like these January days. They're an opportunity for committees to introduce committee bills for the upcoming session, and then also for information sharing on LCs that we know will be coming to us in about a week. So bills will be dropped on Friday. We will start to see them populated in OLS the following week. The first day of session will be on the 2nd. And then those bills have to be out of their first chamber by the 16th, which means there's a deadline in between there about having to have a work session. So there's basically a deadline every week of this short session about the movement of bills. So when Aisha says it's fast and furious, it truly is. Things are just kind of moving really quickly, and you have to be paying really close attention on what's introduced, what's happening, what the amendments are. And this all has to be wrapped up by March 8th. There will probably be somewhere between 350, 400 bills that will be considered in that time span. So we'll be nimble, we'll be responsive, and then we'll be thankful when we make it through it. Okay, so, and I might do a little bit of reading, which I try not to generally do, but there's been some, late breaking things that I've learned in the last day or two that I just want to make sure I don't miss. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the big kind of themes, keys, things that we know will be addressed during short session. The first are the budget cuts. The legislative body is going to have to be dealing with balancing the state budget in response to declining revenue forecasts and the impacts of both federal funding and federal tax changes. So that's no small task. That is going to suck up a whole lot of the legislators' time and capacity. So couple that with the governor's recent request of the legislature regarding the transportation package that was just passed in our special session in the fall, House Bill 3991. She's asked the legislature to look at redirecting, repealing, and rebuilding that package. So, and this is taking place because of a successful referendum effort on that package that will place the key revenue provisions, not the whole thing, but just the revenue that would have been the increased gas tax, the transit payroll tax, and the increased registration and title fees will be placed on the ballot. That means that that revenue is placed on hold, which then means that revenue can't be used to address immediate needs of ODOT, the staffing issues that they have, some of the most immediate maintenance and operative services that they need to provide. So she is trying to avoid that by making this request. And then the legislature deciding whether or not to repeal HB 3991, because that's not a given. They have to actually come to the table and make that happen. How to redirect current transportation funds. There's not a whole lot of extra funds. So like, what are they looking at? This could include everything from like the EV rebate to the privilege tax going to Connect Oregon. All those things are on the table. And how they look at doing that are also not small conversations. And then also trying to take steps in this short session to rebuild a comprehensive package in 2027. That's all major work for a 4-week, 5-week time span, in addition to the conversations that are already going to have to be happening on the budget. So that's all very challenging. But I will note that over the last 2 days, an emerging theme, which shouldn't be surprising, but there has been a lot more talk and work than in previous sessions about economic development and spurring the growth of business in Oregon, which makes sense when you talk about those two other things we just talked about, the budget and these funding needs. And then late breaking news is the governor had released her prosperity roadmap related to economic development and business growth. And she just today announced that she was tapping Tim Knope, who's a former Republican state senator from Bend, to be the chief prosperity officer. So things are happening in that space, and we'll look to see how that all starts to roll out during the session. So in the midst of all those big kind of time-consuming things that are going to really, I think, be the drivers of the session, there are several specific issues that THPRD is going to be watching, monitoring, developing, engaging with as they roll out. So one has to do with recreational liability. So this is separate and distinct from recreational immunity, which Aisha mentioned that we were able to remove from our platform because we were able to get a long-term fix, which was a great piece of work that THPRD was able to be part of making happen. So recreational liability, so recreational immunity is about providing immunity to landowners when the public is using their land for free. We've now kind of addressed some of our needs there. This other issue, recreational liability, is about releasing the operator and owner of a recreational activity or facility from a claim of ordinary negligence, specifically through the use of waivers. This has been around, and we have we've really put our focus on the immunity part conversation instead, because that was the bigger priority to us at that time. And the confusion that that could happen when we met with legislators and tried to talk about both was more than you think it would be. So we decided we're just going to pick one of these, focus on that. We've now been able to check that box, so we are now engaging in the recreational liability conversation more deeply. This has been spearheaded the last few sessions by the ski industry due to their, I'm sure that none of this is new to you, but due to challenges of them getting insurance. So while it may be talked about a lot, ski industry, and then you'll start to hear about rafting and different things, but this also has an impact on local park and rec districts. So ORPA has just started to work. There's a work group that's been meeting recently, and ORPA, the association that we belong to with other park and rec districts across the state, has been engaging and really helping inform and educate other members of that group about the nuances of using waivers at the park and rec level, like what that looks like at what we do. And then some other like just issues of what it means at this level, not when you're talking about ski industry or those big other industries. They've already secured two important changes in this bill that are helpful for us to be part of this conversation. One, they've directly connected the injury to the activity. That's been a concern in previous sessions. And they've also made sure that the property owner has the same coverage as the activity operator, which is really important for just, for groups like THPRD and the owner of the land or the provider of the land that activity is done on. So recent ones, these bills introduced in past sessions have not been successful. However, this is kind of the most momentum we've seen about a bill this time around. Still yet to be seen what will happen with it, but we're definitely engaging. And also, this is another thing I wrote a note, a late breaking bill. There's another bill about recreational liability that's being introduced that is only impacts the ski industry. And so we're going to be watching that really closely to ensure that if that bill looks like it's the one that's moving, any of those protections are extended to Parks and Rec as well. So that was just something that came out yesterday afternoon. So another issue, system development charges. We were just talking about that earlier when you were looking at one of your decisions you were making. The mayor of Portland recently announced that the city of Portland was temporarily waiving SDCs on new housing, which has led to some bubbling up of conversation around SDC policy again, like Aisha said. And so some of you may recall in the couple sessions ago, THPRD really did a deep dive on SDCs, educating legislative members about how parks use SDCs, the critical role they play in infrastructure funding, and also some of the really innovative work the district is doing with local partners that can be done if you look at the local level and let us use those tools. So we'll be watching this really closely to see if any of that bubbling turns into anything more than that. So that's on our radar. E-micromobility is also another one that might be familiar. There was a bill last session, 2025. We were deeply engaged with that, both through offering comment, but also by participating on the work group that developed the legislation. So a big thank you to Peter Swinton, who took on that work for us. And while we supported the 2025 bill, we didn't think it necessarily went far enough in its regulatory approach. And we think that this new bill, from what we understand, is going to follow very much the same tact, except there might be some provisions we like even less. The previous bill allowed local governments to regulate broadly and prohibit that entirely. The new LC looks to restrict the local government's authority to sidewalks and trails of public passage and to regulations based on time, place, and manner only, not more broadly. So those are some concerning aspects to us, and we are looking to let the sponsor know about our concerns. These last two, these are super fun and exciting ones, OGEC, public meetings. There's been a work group that has been talking about specifically serial meetings and how OGEC has been interpreting the implementation of that rule. We have not seen an LC yet or language or anything along those lines, so we're not sure if the public entities recommendations have been included. So watching that closely, because that could be very impactful, potentially really helpful, or not so much. So we want to watch that and see if we can make sure that it's as helpful as possible. Last is annexation. And this is really the one where I have to read the words because I get this. I just want to make sure I say it right. So there is a bill that would allow cities to annex non-contiguous areas where the property owner consents to annexation and when the property is being served by city, water, sewer, and electricity. So this is concerning because, as you all will know really well, When a city annexes territory that is being served within urban services, the city has the ability to withdraw that service from the district, reducing the property taxes that go to that district. So we're working with our partners, both ORBA and the Special District Association of Oregon, to make sure that the sponsor is aware of kind of those nuances and the concerns of districts across Oregon, and to highlight the role and the use of urban service agreements, and kind of that's what they're there for. So those are just some of the things that have bubbled up. I'm sure that there will be more. But again, I am going to double down and say, even though there's going to be a lot of policies to consider and for us to deal with and look at and decide how we want to take a position or not, the budget and the transportation issue is really going to be the main thing that happens. So the last thing I'll say is that after listening to the presentation just before this and your comments about being there, Director Reiner, I think the legislature should really look into hiring Holly and Lulu to really see if we can get some more done by just having them come in a couple times. I feel like a lot of things could be accomplished. So I'm happy to answer any questions on any of those issues or anything else.
Thank you. Thank you for all that information. Okay, questions about any of the legislative agenda? And
I have a super basic, and I know we've gone through short session before. Remind me, do we have, and will you, it's just so condensed, our ability to influence and advocate. And so some of these things as they bubble up, is this, do you see what? Yeah.
So we're not.
I know we're not going to go into
Yeah.
a lobby day. I fully appreciate that. But as you say, these things are bubbling, and if something comes forward, will we still have an opportunity to do our typical advocacy, even if that's writing a letter in support or providing testimony? Okay.
Absolutely.
I know we've done this in the past. I just needed a brain refresh
No,
of
yeah.
how long session and short session differ and
Yeah.
our ability to influence and impact.
Well, I appreciate the question. And you're right, we're not going to do a lobby day because with that compressed time frame, it's just so difficult. But your ability to influence, to impact, to engage is never not happening when we're in session. If there's an issue that comes up, we'll absolutely look to the board about writing letters. If something bubbles up to the point where those kinds of times when we've had you make phone calls or reach out, those are always a tool that I look to utilize whenever I can. So yes, please know that you're on deck.
any other comments, questions about the agenda? Okay, I think you explained it really well. You weren't too fast. I appreciate you returning to provide your expertise, and thank you very much, both of you. So with that, we are adjourned.